What would you do if you discovered your patients were being used as vessels for stolen consciousness? I never thought I would end up working nights at the Henderson Valley Dialysis Center, but $28,000 in student loans has a way of making decisions for you. The job posting promised $22 an hour for solo overnight shifts, 8 p.m. to 6 a.m., 5 nights a week. Medical assistant certification required, moral flexibility apparently optional. My name is Tiago Russell, and I've been a certified medical assistant for exactly 4 months when I take this position. The interview is conducted over video call by Dr. Elias Moreno, a thin man with graying hair and rimless glasses who never quite looks directly at the camera. He explains that the overnight position exists because the center runs a specialized continuous treatment program for 7 patients with severe complications. They require monitoring every hour, vitals documented precisely, following protocols he has established personally. He asks if I am comfortable working alone. I tell him I am 23 years old and spent my college years pulling all-nighters in empty libraries, so solitude does not bother me. He smiles at this, a strange expression that does not reach his eyes, and tells me I will do fine. The job is mine. I can start Monday. The center sits on the edge of an industrial park, a squat brick building with tinted windows and a parking lot that always seems too empty. My first night, I arrive at 7:45 p.m. to meet the evening supervisor, a tired-looking woman named Patricia Hayes who walks me through the facility. 7 treatment rooms arranged in a semicircle around the central monitoring station, each room with a single dialysis chair, machines that hum constantly, for stands, vital sign monitors. Patricia shows me the documentation binder, a massive 3-ring binder with color-coded tabs for each patient. Every hour I am to check each patient, record blood pressure, heart rate, oxygen saturation, temperature, and any observations about their condition. The forms are incredibly detailed, with sections for things I have never seen on standard medical charts, notations about brain wave patterns and blood compound measurements that seem beyond the scope of routine dialysis. The patients arrive at 7:30 p.m., she tells me, brought by a private medical transport service. They are sedated for treatment, will sleep through the entire shift. My job is purely observational. I am not to adjust any settings on the machines or administer any medications. If there is an emergency, I call Dr. Moreno directly. His number is programmed into the desk phone as speed dial 1. I ask about their conditions, trying to understand why they need overnight care. Patricia looks at me with an expression I cannot quite read, something between pity and warning. Special protocol patients, she says. Very delicate cases. Dr. Moreno works with them remotely, monitors everything himself. Just follow the documentation procedures exactly. He is very particular about that. She leaves at 8 p.m., and suddenly the building feels much larger, the hum of the machines much louder. I do my first rounds at 8:30, entering each room with my tablet to record vitals. The patients are exactly as described, deeply asleep, faces slack, breathing steady. Elderly mostly, 3 men and 4 women, ages ranging from 62 to 79 according to their charts. Standard dialysis patients as far as I can tell. Except there is something strange about how still they are. Not peaceful sleep still, but absolutely motionless. I have worked in medical facilities before, done clinical rotations in hospitals, and sleeping patients move, they shift position, their eyes move under closed lids during REM sleep. These patients could be mannequins except for the steady rise and fall of their chests. I tell myself it is the sedation, that whatever medications Dr. Moreno uses must be incredibly effective. I complete my documentation, everything within normal ranges, and return to the monitoring station to watch 7 screens that display real-time data from each treatment room. The first week passes uneventfully. I fall into a routine, hourly checks at 9:30, 10:30, 11:30, and so on through the night. I bring books to read between rounds, eat my lunch at 2 a.m., watch the sunrise through the tinted windows at 5:30 before the morning transport arrives to collect the patients at 6. It is during my second week that I noticed the first irregularity. Patient in room 4, Violet Peterson, 71 years old, in treatment for advanced kidney disease. I am doing my 2 a.m. check, recording her blood pressure, when I see her fingers twitch. Just slightly, a small spasm in her right hand. I watch for a moment, but it does not repeat. I noted in the documentation, small involuntary muscle movement observed at 2:14 a.m., and continue my rounds. The next night, same patient, same time. Her fingers twitch again, but this time her eyelids flutter too. I lean closer, checking her pupil response with my pen light, and her eyes are moving rapidly beneath the closed lids. More than normal REM sleep, almost frantic. I check the medication logs. She should be too deeply sedated for this level of activity. I call Dr. Moreno. He answers on the second ring despite it being 2:30 a.m., his voice clear and alert as if he has been awake. I describe what I observed. There's a pause, then he asks if I have adjusted anything, touched any of the machine settings. I tell him no, absolutely not. I follow protocols exactly. Good, he says, very good, Tiago. What you are seeing is normal for this phase of treatment. The patients sometimes show minor neurological activity. It is nothing to be concerned about. Just document it precisely as you have been doing. I ask what he means by phase of treatment. Another pause, longer this time. These patients are participating in an experimental protocol, he says, approved through private research channels. The treatment involves carefully controlled neurological suppression, very cutting-edge work. The movements I am seeing are actually positive signs that the therapy is working. I should continue monitoring as usual. Something about his explanation does not sit right, but I am in no position to question a doctor's protocols. I am a medical assistant with 4 months' experience and a mountain of debt. I document the conversation and continue my shift. The incidents increase over the following weeks. Not every night, but frequently enough that I start to dread the 2 a.m. rounds. Patient in room 6, Josephine Hayes, 67 years old, starts having the same symptoms. Then room 2, Marcus Coleman, 69 years old. The movements are subtle but unmistakable now that I know to watch for them. Fingers flexing, eyelids fluttering, sometimes their mouths moving slightly as if trying to speak. I review their charts obsessively between rounds. The compound measurements Patricia mentioned are tracked in a separate section, something called theta wave metabolite concentration, measured in units I do not recognize. The numbers climb steadily each night for each patient, and there are notes in Dr. Moreno's handwriting. Transferred to primary storage at 0400 hours, processing complete, consciousness substrate viable. Consciousness substrate. I look up the term online during my 3 a.m. break. Nothing in any medical database. I find references in fringe neuroscience forums, theoretical discussions about preserving brain function, about transferring awareness between biological systems. Nothing peer-reviewed, nothing legitimate. I start paying closer attention to the machines during my rounds. The dialysis equipment is standard, but there are additional devices attached, small boxes with digital displays showing waveform patterns that look more like EEG readouts than anything related to kidney function. Tubes running from these boxes to separate collection bags, filled with what looks like normal saline except it has a faint luminescence under the fluorescent lights. It is 5 weeks into the job when I notice something that makes my skin crawl. Josephine Hayes, the patient in room 6, has a small tattoo on her left wrist. A delicate bird in flight, blue ink, clearly professional work. I notice it during my 4 a.m. check, mark it in my mental catalog of her appearance. The next week, the tattoo is different. Not different placement, different design. Now it is a small constellation of stars, same location, same professional quality, but definitely not the same tattoo. I check her chart, looking for any notes about cosmetic procedures. Nothing. I am tired, I tell myself, working too many nights, seeing things that are not there. But I am not imagining it. I pull up the photos I have been taking of the documentation screens, a habit I developed to make sure I am recording everything correctly. I scroll back through 2 weeks of images until I find a clear shot that includes Josephine's wrist in the frame. The bird tattoo, unmistakable. I compare the handwriting on her consent forms. The signature at the bottom of her intake paperwork from 3 months ago versus the signature on last week's updated emergency contact form. Different. Completely different. The old signature is shaky, elderly script. The new one is confident, flowing, the signature of someone much younger. The emergency contact has changed too. Originally it listed her daughter Sarah Hayes in Columbus, Ohio. Now it lists someone named Marcus Bennett in Seattle, Washington. I spend my entire 4 a.m. break going through all 7 patient files, comparing signatures, checking for inconsistencies. 5 of the 7 show similar discrepancies. Changed handwriting, altered emergency contacts, small physical differences I had attributed to my imagination. A mole that appears or disappears, slight changes in hair texture, the tattoo situation with Josephine. At 4:30 am I am sitting at the monitoring station, hands shaking, trying to formulate a rational explanation. Medical identity theft, maybe. Some kind of insurance fraud using these elderly patients. But that does not explain the consciousness substrate notations, the strange collection equipment, the neurological activity during what should be deep sedation. I decide to watch more carefully during the next check. At 5 am I enter room 6, Josephine's room, moving quietly even though she should be completely unconscious. I check her vitals as usual, but this time I watch her face continuously, looking for any sign of awareness. Her vitals are strange. Heart rate slightly elevated, blood pressure lower than usual. I check the compound measurement readout on the additional equipment, the numbers are dropping rapidly, and there is a notation on the display that reads neural transition phase active. Her eyelids flutter. Once, twice, then they open slightly. Just a crack, but I can see her eyes moving beneath, tracking back and forth rapidly as if searching for something. The machines around her change their rhythm, a new beeping pattern I have not heard before. Then her mouth moves. Her lips forming shapes, trying to make sounds, but nothing emerges except a faint whisper that I have to lean close to hear. Please. The word is barely audible. Please, my name is Adrian. The voice is wrong. Completely wrong. Not an elderly woman's voice, but higher, younger, and with an accent that does not match Josephine's Ohio origins. The voice of a teenager, male, desperate. I am 14, the voice continues, each word requiring visible effort. I do not know where my real body is. She took it 3 months ago. Help me. I jerked back, nearly knocking over the 4 stand. Josephine's eyes, or whatever is looking out through Josephine's eyes, fix on me for just a moment before her lids flutter closed again and she returns to the absolute stillness. My heart is hammering so hard I can hear it. I back out of the room, documentation forgotten, every instinct screaming at me to run. But I force myself to stay calm, to think. I need evidence, real documentation, something beyond my word against a doctor's protocol. I return to the monitoring station and start downloading everything I can access. Patient files, treatment logs, Dr. Moreno's protocol notes. I copy it all to a flash drive I brought for my own record keeping. 10 minutes of frantic downloading while I watch the clock, knowing the transport van arrives at 6 a.m. My phone buzzes. A text message from an unknown number, but I know immediately who it is. Mr. Russell, I see you are having concerns. Your father's first treatment is scheduled for Friday. I can arrange for you to be his primary overnight monitor. That way you can ensure his transition is comfortable. Or we can discuss your own future health needs. You are young, but who knows what might happen. See you at your 4 a.m. check-in tomorrow. Do not be late. My father. He knows about my father. 3 weeks ago, Dad was diagnosed with early-stage Alzheimer's, something I mentioned once on a phone call during a lunch break. I thought I was alone in the building. Obviously, I was not alone at all. I look up at the cameras I had barely noticed before, small black domes in every corner, every room, including the monitoring station. Dr. Moreno has been watching everything, has been watching me specifically, waiting to see how I would react. The pieces fall into place with horrible clarity. The treatment does not preserve consciousness, it transfers it. The wealthy clients paying for whatever compound these machines extract, they are not just preserving their minds. They are overriding the consciousness of the dialysis patients, using their bodies as host vessels. The patient's original minds are not gone, they are trapped, aware, screaming silently while strangers live in their bodies during the day. The families visiting are not visiting their loved ones anymore, they are visiting actors, people who studied their mannerisms, their histories, who slip into their bodies like trying on clothes. That is why the handwriting changes, why physical details shift, why Josephine has Adrian's consciousness trapped inside her, a 14-year-old boy stolen from his real body and stored in an elderly woman during processing. The center is not treating 7 patients, it is processing hundreds of consciousness transfers, cycling through bodies. extracting the compound that makes the transfer possible from people trapped in that space between life and death. I have 90 minutes until the transport arrives. I grab the flash drive, my phone, my jacket. I will go to the police, to the medical board, to anyone who will listen. But even as I think it, I realize the problem. Dr. Moreno mentioned 7 dialysis centers. This is not one rogue facility, this is a network. How far does it go? How many people are involved? How many of the authorities I might contact are clients, people who have already secured their own future hosts? I am halfway to the exit when all 7 treatment room doors open simultaneously. The patients are standing, moving with synchronized precision that is impossible for people who should be unconscious, should be physically incapable of walking after hours of dialysis. They move into the central area, surrounding the monitoring station in a loose circle. Josephine, or whoever is currently controlling Josephine's body, steps forward. When she speaks, the voice is Dr. Moreno's, coming from her mouth but unmistakably his cadence, his pronunciation. Tiago, I am disappointed. I thought you were smarter than this. I thought you understood the opportunity one was offering you. I back against the wall, hand on my phone. The other patients, I realize they are not patients at all right now. They are being piloted remotely somehow, Dr. Moreno controlling them or other members of his network, using these bodies like puppets. Your father's Alzheimer's is terminal, he continues through Josephine's mouth. 18 months, perhaps 24 if he is lucky. But I can give him 50 more years, Tiago. A new body, young and healthy, his consciousness preserved perfectly. Is that not worth a little moral flexibility? I think of my father, of watching him struggle to remember my name last week, the fear in his eyes. I think of the voice that came from Josephine's mouth during my last check, 14-year-old Adrian begging for help from inside a stolen body. How many, I ask. How many people have you done this to? Josephine's face smiles, but it is Dr. Moreno's smile. 237 successful transfers over the past 4 years. The patients you see here are what makes it possible, their bodies suspended in that liminal state where consciousness becomes malleable. We extract the compound, refine it, use it to facilitate transfers. The hosts are well compensated, their families receive substantial payments. Except Adrian, I say. Except the people who are not willing. The ones you just take. A necessary sacrifice for the greater good, Dr. Moreno says, and now all 7 patients speak in unison, a chorus of his voice. Death comes for everyone, Tiago. We have found a way to delay it, to preserve the self beyond the failure of flesh. Your father could be immortal. I am not listening anymore. I am looking at the medication cabinet behind the monitoring station, at the bright red emergency shutdown button on the wall. I do not know what will happen if I cut power to the treatment machines, if it will free the trapped consciousness or kill them permanently. But I know I cannot let this continue. I lunge for the button, slamming my palm against it. Alarms blare immediately, emergency lights strobing. The patients collapse as if their strings have been cut, dropping to the floor in synchronized unconsciousness. The machines spin down with a descending whine. Then silence. Terrible, absolute silence except for the alarm. I call 911 on my phone, backing toward the exit while I talk to the dispatcher. Medical emergency at Henderson Valley Dialysis Center, 7 patients collapsed, I need ambulances immediately. I do not mention Dr. Moreno, do not try to explain the consciousness transfers. I just repeat the address until I hear sirens. The ambulances arrive within 8 minutes, fire trucks right behind them. I meet them outside, watch as paramedics rush in. A police officer takes my statement. I tell him I came in for my shift and found the patients in distress, that I initiated emergency shutdown procedures. I hand over the flash drive, tell him there is documentation of experimental procedures being conducted without proper authorization. What happens next takes months. Investigation, interviews, medical board reviews. The patients are transferred to a proper hospital, where neurologists make disturbing discoveries about their brain activity patterns, about the presence of multiple consciousness signatures in their neural structures. Dr. Moreno disappears, along with the entire network of staff who operated the 7 facilities. But 4 of the patients wake up. Not the original people who entered treatment, the consciousness transfers have been too extensive, the original minds too fragmented. But they wake as the people they became, wealthy clients now trapped in elderly failing bodies, facing criminal charges for identity theft, for conspiracy, for what amounts to murder of the original consciousness. Josephine Hayes wakes up as Marcus Dalton, a 52-year-old investment banker from New York who paid $3 million for a younger body. When the transfer was interrupted, he was left stuck in his elderly host. He screams when he sees his reflection, screams until the sedation takes hold. Adrian is never found. His consciousness signature is too faint, too damaged by months of being suppressed. The boy who begged me for help is gone, scattered fragments in the neural patterns of a woman who no longer exists either. My father passes away 16 months later, at home, surrounded by family. The Alzheimer's takes him gradually, his mind fading naturally the way minds have faded since humans first lived. I sit with him at the end, hold his hand, and know I made the right choice even though it costs me everything I wanted to save. The dialysis centers are shut down, the technology seized. But I know it is still out there somewhere, the research, the compound extraction process, the knowledge of how to transfer consciousness between bodies. Dr. Moreno and his network are gone, but the science exists now. Someone else will rediscover it, refine it, find a way to make it profitable again. I leave the medical field after everything is resolved. I cannot work in healthcare anymore, cannot look at patients without wondering if they are really themselves. I take a job teaching at a community college, helping nursing students learn the basics of patient care. I emphasize documentation, following protocols, questioning anything that seems wrong. Sometimes at night I wake up convinced I can hear them, all the consciousness fragments that were lost in that space between life and death, the people who died so that others could cheat mortality. I hear 14-year-old Adrian asking where his real body is, and I have no answer for him. I keep one thing from that night, printed on paper and locked in a drawer. The text message from Dr. Moreno, the threat about my father, the offer to make me complicit in horror. I read it when I start to doubt myself, when I wonder if I made the right choice letting my father die instead of damning someone else to save him. The answer is always the same. Some prices are too high. Some moral boundaries cannot be crossed no matter how much we love the people we would save. Consciousness is not meant to be transferred, stored, traded like currency. We are meant to live and die in the bodies we are born with, our time limited, our awareness precious because it is finite. I made the right choice. I tell myself that every day. And most days, I almost believe it.